In this week's parasha, we have, as usual, many important lessons to learn. One of the important points, which is certainly worth mentioning, is how the Hatam Sofer explains the pasuk, Hamchaseh ani me'Avraham et asher ani oseh b'Sdom. Should I hide from Abraham the fact that I'm going to destroy Sodom, that they've sinned so heavily and they're so evil, an anti-Hesed community, they don't deserve to exist. Should I hide it from Abraham or not? So the Hatam Sofer asks a very interesting question. Prophecy is given to a person according to his level. So if Abraham was on the level to receive prophecy, why should Hashem hide from him what he's going to do in Sodom? He should tell him. And if he's not on the level of a prophet, he's not deserving of prophecy, so don't tell him. So why does Hashem speak in a way that he's in doubt? Should I reveal to Abraham this prophecy or shouldn't I reveal this prophecy? So the Hatam Sofer tells us that really Abraham was not on the level to receive prophecy. He was so involved in the world around him, more or less running the first and greatest ever outreach program in the world. All his life devoted to going from place to place and telling people about the one and true God and proving to them and arguing with them. So being a person who's so involved in the outside world, he is not one that can receive prophecy. Prophecy is usually given to a person who lives a very secluded life, studying Torah day and night, in very enclosed confines and totally cut off from the outside world and only involved day and night in very spiritual thoughts and deep thoughts, Kabbalistic and philosophical. That's the type of person who is ready to be a prophet. But someone who is running around the world telling people there's one God, he's not on the level of prophecy. So the Hatam Sofer says, how did Hashem solve the problem? Because Hashem did reveal to Abraham that prophecy about Sodom. Before he went to destroy Sodom, he told him that he's going to do that. So the next pasuk says, "Va'Avraham hayo yehiye legoy gadol ve'atzum, yeda'ativ למען אשר יסווה את בניו ואת ביתו אחריו," which means Abraham is going to be the father of a great nation. And I love him, ידעתיו means I loved him, למען אשר יסווה את בניו ואת ביתו אחריו, just because of this very factor that he is someone who is going to, for sure, teach his children after him the ways of God, the Torah of God, and his students and all those around him, Beto, his children and his party, he's going to teach them the ways of God. So how can I forfeit him from receiving this prophecy if everything that he's doing is on my behalf to make my name great in the world? He's working day and night for me. And now I'm going to say, no, he's not living such a secluded existence, day and night, by himself, secluded, in very deep thoughts. All that he's doing is to make my name great in the world. So there's no way that I can hide from him this prophecy, and he deserves it. From this, the Hatam Sofer learns a very important lesson. He tells us that success in our spiritual activities, whether it's learning Torah, whether it's teaching Torah, and all other areas of spiritual activities, we're blessed with success if our intentions are the best and most correct intentions. We're learning Torah l'shem shamayim, for the sake of Hashem, with no ulterior motives. We're not thinking of our personal honor or whether it's a way of making a living or anything like that. Our only concern is to do the will of Hashem and make His name great in the world. If so, he says, such a person will be blessed with success beyond nature, even if he's lacking in his personal capabilities. Maybe he's not the most brilliant person. Even so, Hashem will enlighten his mind and reveal to him the depth of Torah, the secrets of Torah, and he will be successful in all that he does. Whether it's to teach others, whether it's to help others come closer to Hashem, people will want to hear from him, will want to listen to him, and he will be successful in all he does. Why? Because his intentions are pure. Since his whole purpose in life is to teach people the way of God and bring them closer to Hashem, so Hashem gives him the wisdom. This we see in many different sayings of our rabbis. We often hear today people saying, I'm not cut out to be learned in Torah, especially Gemara, out of the question. It's too difficult for me. I'm not for that. Maybe a little bit of halachot I can read. Light things. I like Musar. Here and there I'll read something from the Kabbalah. These things I can relate to. I just read through, browse through. But Gemara, questions, answers, arguments, proofs, decisions, that's not for me. I'm not brilliant enough for that. So that's the wrong attitude to take. Hazal tell us, we have a pasuk in Tehillim which says, Edut Hashem ne'emana mahkimat peti. The Torah of Hashem is faithful. Mahkimat peti, it makes the stupid person wise. So a person may have a blocked up head. Maybe he's not successful in secular studies. If he is going to devote his life to Torah, Hashem will open up his mind. The Torah opens up his mind. Edut Hashem ne'emana. The laws of the Torah are faithful. Mahkimat peti, they make a stupid person wise. What does it depend on? So Hazal say, Yagata umatzata ta'amin. If someone says, look, I tried very hard but I couldn't make it, don't believe him. He didn't try hard enough. If someone says, I didn't make any effort but I know everything, don't believe him. He's kidding himself. Only someone who says, I worked hard and I achieved and I understood and I know, believe him. Yagata umatzata ta'amin. Torah will come to a person through hard work. Yegi'ah means to labor and toil in the words of Torah. Torah is a spiritual entity. It's not like any other form of study and education. Torah has in it the power to build up the mind of a person and develop him to be someone who can understand the depths of and the secrets of the Torah. In my experience as a Rosh Yeshiva for more than 45 years, I've seen some people who come from a background of tremendous achievements in secular studies, literally the highest level, professors. When they came to learn Torah, they didn't make it. And then I saw others who came from backgrounds very, very problematic, totally uninvolved in any form of studies. And when they learned Torah, they became unbelievably great. So what does it depend on? It depends upon toiling and laboring in Torah. Yagata. If you worked hard, matzata, you'll discover. Hazal didn't say if you work hard, you will understand. If you work hard, you will know. They will said you will discover. You discover something that was hidden, and you didn't even dream that you would find it or that you would achieve it. And it came to you out of the blue. That's a discovery. When you get something out of the blue. If a person puts his efforts into learning Torah, he will be rewarded by Hashem, by wisdom, out of the blue, what he couldn't have ever dreamt that he would be able to achieve to such high levels. Why is that so? That is so because the Torah has a power that it's a living Torah. Any other wisdom in the world, whatever, science, mathematics, history, geography, whatever other wisdoms of the world, the knowledge on its own, the wisdom, is dead. What brings it to life? The mind of the one who is studying it. If he has a brilliant mind, he'll light it up and make tremendous explanations in that specific study. But Torah is a living wisdom. So the Hachamim say, Nefesh amela amla lo. It's a pasuk. Someone who worked hard, the Torah now is working for him. You worked hard on this section, the next section you get as a present. The Torah reveals herself to you willingly and opens up your mind to understand the Torah, which you could have never achieved on your own, because you're not learning a dead wisdom, you're learning a living wisdom. You worked on this section, the next section you get as a present. Nefesh amela amla lo. The Torah works on your behalf. There's a very famous author called Rabbi Moshe HaMachiri. He had an outstanding kollel in the north of Israel at the time of Rabbi Yosef Karo, the Arizal. His kollel was in a place called En Zetun. And his yeshiva was called Hesger En Zetun, which means like the prison of En Zetun. Because the arrangements he made with his students was, if you come to learn, you're there for so many years and you don't leave. That's without corona, without any other reason. If you're learning in my kollel, you're there for a good part of your life. You have to grow and become great. He wrote a book called Seder Hayom, a very famous book, quoted in many other books, both halachically and in Musar, in all areas he's quoted. So he wrote in this book concerning the study of Torah. He gave us a mashal, an example of how a person can achieve greatness in Torah. He said, someone wanted to make wine, so they brought him a beautiful cluster of grapes, but then he looked at them and, what, he's going to put his hands on them and his hands would be stained with the grapes. He doesn't want that, but he wants the juice. So he took one grape after another, held it over the jar or the cup, and pressed just with his fingertips, and a little bit of, you can say, mohal we called it. It's like sour liquid came out of the grapes. Till he had a cup full, he drank. It was horrible. He spat it out. These are bad grapes. He said the same thing about people. When you want to learn Torah, they don't want to work hard. You want to make wine, you have to go in with your legs and with your hands and crush the grapes and take out the very essence from within the grapes, and then you'll have the sweetest wine. Same thing with Torah. You want to learn Torah, understand, it's all about toiling, working hard. Jump in with all your power, with all your strength. Every ounce of you should be involved and invested in your learning. And then the Torah will reveal herself to you. He made on this an example. So he tells us a story. There was once a great king who had a beautiful daughter, his princess, and he wanted to look for her, for the most deserving Hatan to marry her. So he put her in a locked up castle with no openings, no doors, no windows, nothing. And sent word around the whole country that anyone who will be able to enter into the castle and get to the princess, he will be the prince. So people came from all over, each trying his luck, walking around the building for some sort of an opening, looking for a window, for a door, for a crack, nothing. So they hang around for a few hours, some for a few days, nothing. Others made different attempts. Some bought their guitars or their violins and were playing music and singing songs and begging the princess to reveal herself, to guide him how to get in. Nothing. Till one person came, he was very determined. He was there for weeks and months, crying and calling out with all his efforts to somehow find an opening. Till one day he saw a tiny little crack. He started with his fingers digging in till he revealed like what seemed to be an opening. And he was crying out to the princess, "Please guide me, tell me what I should do, where will I find the keys?" And then he went from stage to stage, from door to door, from room to room, till he got to the princess and he became the king eventually. So the Seder Hayom says that's what it's all about. You want to know Torah? Some people come to yeshiva, they shockle a bit, and they sing a little bit when they learn da 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 da. But they're not killing themselves over it. Hazal says, "Ein Torah mitkayemet ela mimi shememit atzmo aleha." You have to kill yourself over it. This person gave up his life to get to the princess. Anyone who will devote himself to Torah and make all the efforts that he has to do from his side, from his part, Hashem will give him success in his learning, in his studies. And this is in all areas of spirituality. Hashem wants us to help other people come close to Torah, to have belief in Hashem. Hashem wants us to be charitable and help those who need, and to build up the Torah in the world. All these people who have true intentions for good, Hashem will help them in a miraculous way. This is what we learn from the words of the Hatam Sofer. Hashem revealed prophecy to Abraham. Although Abraham was really not meritable for prophecy because he was living a life not of seclusion but an outward life, and yet Hashem gave him prophecy, which is the highest level a person can reach, to be a prophet. Abraham came to prophecy just because of the fact that whatever he did was for the sake of Hashem, to make the name of Hashem great in the world.